Potentially, but I don't want the guys to focus on that. I just want the guys to focus on playing their best game because that's what it's going to take. If you get caught up in the hype and you're too excited, because at the end of the day, emotion is not going to win this game. They play in one of the best venues in college football. They play in one of the best conferences in college football, so they're not going to be overwhelmed by the moment. It's the team that can manage all the distractions, all of the hype associated with the game, and lock in and play the best fundamental football that's going to win. So these guys are going to be excited, but at the same time, don't want to take that excitement away from them. But we want to channel it in the right direction so they can perform at the highest level.
Is it kind of taking away for the offensive line, kind of focusing them on the game plan rather than a vendetta against I want to beat this guy or I want to pancake this guy or something?
Our guys have done a great job. If you just look at the success that these guys have had offensively, it's because they've been able to block out the distractions. And I don't anticipate that these guys are going to get caught up in the moment, and they're not going to make it personal. At the end of the day, we're successful as a program because there's no entitlement. It's not about one individual. It's about the team playing together as one. Everybody pulling in the same direction. So I think the offensive line understands that's our strength offensively is those guys in the trenches, and their strength is their defensive line. And so it's a matchup between strength on strength and the guys that, like you say, that can block out the noise, not get caught up in the hype of the game, and just focus on the game plan and their technique. Because at the end of the day, the game plan doesn't matter if you don't have good fundamentals.
When you get an elite matchup like that, as an offensive lineman, are you worried more about what they're doing or what you're doing? You know what I mean? Is it more about stopping Chase Young's strength, or is it more playing to your strength?
It's more playing to your strength. You got to have an understanding of what he likes to do, what his moves are, how he likes to counter. But at the end of the day, you got to focus on yourself and focus on your timing, focus on your punch, focus on your set. Not oversetting, not undersetting, not opening your hips. So I think it's more you got to focus on yourself, and then as the game goes on, then you can kind of get a feel for any kind of changes that he may have to his game.
How much more zone are they playing? I think they made a lot of improvement from last year, giving up big plays, and I think maybe the red where they're playing more.
They're about. If I had to put my finger on it, they're probably about 55, 45, 60, 40 between zone and man. But they do play a lot of man coverage, and they're good enough to do it. But then also they can mix it up. And the great thing about it is they're able to disguise it. So you don't know until post snap whether it's actually man coverage or whether it's zone coverage, and that changes something, especially when you're going through your progressions for the quarterback.
So more zone.
A little bit more zone. And like I said, it's about 50-50. But again, we won't know until we get out there. They may have something different planned for us.
Did I hear you compare this defense to the 16 Bama?
Just when you look at it, just when you cut on that 16 Bama, I mean, it's like, wow, look at that defensive line. You cut on the film, you look at this defensive line. I know Chase gets the attention, and rightfully so. Very, very good player. But all those guys, Cornell was a guy that jumped out, on tape. Number 9 inside, very quick twitch, very, very hard to block one-on-one. And then you go over there and they had number 18, and I think their red shirt and him were like, wow, he's a pretty good player. Then you got Smith's a really good player, and then Friday comes in. I mean, so they're just loaded, and that's what it was when you played against Alabama. They just had too deep on that defensive line, and then at linebacker, they're very, very experienced, and then they're too deep at linebacker. 39's played a lot of football. He makes a lot of plays, and then when they bring in number 5, I mean, he's just a different animal. Just a different level of athleticism. And then on the back end, those corners are very comparable. So when you look at how they're built from a personnel standpoint, that's what I was talking about when you talk about 2016 Bama.
When you look at Trevor on this stage last year versus this year, is there anything that jumps out as, or I guess what's the biggest difference you see?
Really hadn't noticed, much of a difference. Just proud of Trevor of how he's, handled everything this season, how he's responded to the adversity early on, and he's responding like a true champion. And I expect him to play, his best football. It looks like for Trevor, the bigger the stage, the better he plays, and that's just what you just continue to see out of Trevor.
What has it been like? I'm sorry, you've been asked this
No.
already, but just with Jeff gone, like how much has Tyler Grisham been involved, and what does that kind of look like from a planning perspective?
From a planning standpoint, biggest thing for Grish was just being able to get a grasp of the plan and being able to articulate it to the wideouts, and did a really, really good job, in the time that we asked him to do it. But now that Jeff's back, Jeff jumped right back into his role. We're rocking and rolling like nothing changed, and I'm excited to make this last run with my bud.
Is there anything that, with Jeff being gone for 10 or whatever days, was there anything that you lost in that or no? As far as just him not, the key guy not being there for a slice of time?
I think that Just had to spend a little bit more time communicating, just making sure that Tyler was up to speed. That's probably the only thing that was really lost. It's just because, again, Jeff and I have been together for so long. You know, we could say something to each other, and we knew exactly what we were talking about. And then Grish moving into that seat. And then there were a lot of other things, too. Now he's dealing with recruiting. You know, he's trying to get all those logistics sorted out. So just a little bit more time communicating between myself, Grish, and then Streeter and Grish, just make sure everybody's on the same page. That's the only difference.
You talked about not getting caught up in the emotion, but this team's played at such a high level, won so many games in a row and all that. Does that help to keep that from happening? Just because they've been there, done that?
You know, experience is the greatest teacher. But the schedule's been a little bit different this year, so it's kind of a new frontier for us as well. But these guys have played in a lot of big games. But the big thing for us is we talk about every game is the biggest game on the schedule, and so our guys won't treat this, you know, any different. Biggest thing